Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. This is Life List, a birding podcast. I am George Armistead, and I am here with co-hosts Alvaro Jaramillo and Molly Brown. Guys, how's it going today?
Hello.
Hey, it's going great.
A little gloomy here. A little gloomy. Post-storm gloom.
Gloom in your head or in just the weather?
Just the weather, yeah.
Okay.
There's actually
But you're happy yourself.
Oh no, yeah, I'm having a good day. I'm fully caffeinated, feeling productive. Seen a few birds, so all good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Al, what have you been up to lately?
Me? Oh boy. I did a pelagic. Oh yeah. So the Saturday pelagic. Here's the thing that happened. I did a boat trip. There was a boat trip in the weekend in Monterey, and there was another boat trip out in Bodega Bay. All three of us had masses of storm petrels, just beyond what usually we see, and in places that there haven't been seen for a while. And a lot of them were black storm petrels down here in the south. And it seemed like we had the storm petrels come in early in August, and then that hurricane thing, the Hillary happened, cooled things down. They kind of retreated, and they've come back again because warmer water is again kind of coming in. So I thought it was really amazing to see something. You could see the maps of the water situation changing, and I thought something's going to be different this weekend. And boom, it was like storm petrels everywhere.
What were the numbers? Cool. What did you estimate for numbers? I saw some photos. It looked like masses of storm petrels.
I think Bodega had something like 4,000, and we maybe 2,000 and a half. And then there were, similar numbers down in Santa Cruz County to the south. And so probably in the whole region, there was, over 10,000 plus storm petrels. And if you think about Ashe has a world population of 13,000. So we probably were also, in terms of Ashe, seeing at least maybe half of the world population just hanging around.
That's wild.
In the area.
Man.
So
the photos were impressive of the flocks.
It was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. We could not find something super crazy rare. The other two trips actually had least storm petrel, and Wilson's was the one that sort of was in all three, and that's kind of a minor rarity for us here. So odd,
nice.
Just odd and interesting, and also kind of I love the fact that you could predict something was going to happen, and that was it. Just from looking at the water temp.
I think your predictions are getting famous.
Yeah.
At least they sound like it in this room. Yeah, maybe.
I know. They don't call me. Well, you know what they call me.
I think we do. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Molly and Nostradamus, I had one little, I had a close encounter a couple days ago. And it nearly ended with a very, very stinky George and Sully. I was in the backyard here in Philly, and I was as I often do while on the phone, I will throw frisbee for the pup and kind of watch the sky at the same time. It's a good way to, I feel like multitasking at its finest, sometimes with a beer even. And so I was doing that. I was on the phone with Doug Gotchfeld, and we were just, catching up on various things. And I'm throwing the frizz, and Sully is going after his frisbee, and then he comes trotting back, and just as he gets back to me, he pivots. And in the process of the pivot, I just catch a view behind him of something black and white. And it was a striped skunk, which, as I've mentioned in the past, they sometimes kind of burrow under our back porch, but we hadn't seen a skunk here for months.
Yeah.
And I've never seen one in the day like, and it like where I spotted it, it was like, I want to say it was like maybe 30 feet behind the dog. And so only about, 35 feet from me. And it was in the middle of the lawn. And like, it was like as though it just manifested there. Like it just all of a sudden appeared. It was not there before. And like all of a sudden, I was like, how did that? And I think what must have happened is that as Sully was running towards me with the frizz, that I think the skunk must have kind of trotted out after him directly behind him. Otherwise, I would have seen him. But Sully was about to turn around to go back to get in position to receive the next Frisbee throw. And all of a sudden I was like, ah! And I got a hold of him, and he never even saw the skunk. Like, he literally never saw it. I was like, man, I was kind of disappointed in him, honestly. But it was real close.
What kind of a dog is that? Yeah.
I know. He's he's a golden retriever. I always say not just a retriever, a golden retriever. But yeah, he left a little something to be desired in terms of skunk detection skills there. That was not his finest moment, but it was close. It was close, man.
Boy, I've been in those spots where you suddenly, the dog's about to turn around and you try to distract it and get it going the other way.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny you said that. I'd kind of forgot this happened, but I had a really close encounter with the skunk a couple weeks ago. I was just out the road from here. There's a really cool wildlife management area that's really big, covers a lot of different habitats. A lot of it's strip mine. It's a really good place to see Connecticut warbler about the third week of September, among many other things. It's just a nice ridgeline where you get tons of fall migration. It's also really relatively close to the house. So I go over there sometimes in the middle of the day if I'm just tired of working and need to wander around and take a little break. And that's what I was doing on this time. And there's somebody new that's managing the wildlife management areas around here. And they've been doing a lot of different little projects. And they had these signs up for pollinator habitat that was under the power lines. And I was just wandering through that. There weren't really paths. They'd done, they do mowings under the power lines. And it looked like that was it. And I was kind of just stepping through, seeing if I could tell if anything had been done beyond that. And I my foot was up. And there was a young skunk under me. And I've never had that happen before. I literally would have stepped on it.
Oh, my God.
And it was not like a baby. It was, one that was at least a few months old or that had probably been born this year. And it looked at me and I looked at it and I think I just kind of gasped and it popped its back feet up and I backed off.
Oh, my God.
And I went home, actually. I was like, all right, I'll wrap up. But it...
when they're doing the headstand, you better you better start getting repositioning.
Totally. It was just as shocked as I was. Like, it looked like it had that very much deer in the headlights look, and it just like popped up like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. And I was like, I think I'm supposed to step back at this point. Yeah, it just never happened to me to just stumble onto one that close without seeing it. But that would have sucked.
There's this video I saw last week. I think it was the National Park Service or something, and it was a spotted skunk, maybe a western spotted skunk, doing the dance, in its front feet. And the weird thing is when you look at it from the front, the spots on the side, on the flanks, look almost like eyes, like white eyes, and the whole look was so weird. Like, I didn't know what I was looking at first, because it was kind of cropped tightly and it was in black and white. And you realize, wow, this is one of the most amazing displays in the animal kingdom. Yet it's not something that people film that often because you're usually running away, right? It's crazy.
It's funny. You would think as like mustelids, I always imagined that they would have really good eyesight, but it sounds like they just don't. Because like I've had a few encounters where if you just stay put, sometimes they end up just kind of waddling right up to you.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they don't need to, I think.
Yeah, I guess, evidently not, because none of them do see well, from what I can tell.
I mean, they seem to habituate really easily as well.
Yes.
There's a few that are around the house that, like, come up to the car. I do my little, like, loop with my thermal scope at night and just kind of go down the road looking for things, and there's one that, like, checks out my car every time, and I don't think it would ever jump in the car, but I kind of leave the door open and I like pop out and look at a couple things, and I have to remember to shut it when I'm at that spot because it comes up and it'll sit under the car.
That
But
would not be ideal. Skunk in
no,
the car.
it wouldn't.
No.
I'm
No.
not sure they can jump. They're so fat,
Yeah.
I mean, don't want to be body
It's a well-fed
skunk,
like
but
dumpster skunk. So.
yeah. I mean, as far as
Oh.
mustelids, like weasels go, they should almost create a whole section for them because
Yeah.
they're not highly predatory. They're not sleek. They're totally the opposite of a weaselly kind of creature. Yet they are.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I've been cleaning up my mammal list for West Virginia a little bit and kind of officially adding things. And the spotted skunk, I think there's only one, maybe two spotted skunk records on iNaturalist, which right now is my source for animal sightings in West Virginia. And it's a link to a YouTube video that's like 15 minutes long of one just hanging out in someone's house. It's really weird.
Wow.
But it's like sitting on his shoe, and it seems like it's a
Wow.
habituated. I don't know what the deal is. It's a weird video. Man, I want to see a spotted skunk over here, and they are around. But
Yeah.
I've had a wild mammal more than so. It's not the species, the group. You could probably guess this. Had a wild mammal multiple times in different places in different countries walk over my foot. What could it be?
Walk over your foot. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's rodents. There are a variety of rodents that seem possible.
No.
I'm wondering if walk is a clue.
Oh.
Armadillos. I've had armadillos walk over my feet in Argentina. And
hopefully you were wearing shoes. They carry leprosy.
Right. Well, they don't all carry leprosy, but yeah.
Well, but like there's been stories in the news about how like there's people that like go and try to catch these things and have actually gotten leprosy from.
Well, this is why you don't lick those things when you lick toads.
Armadillos.
Armadillos.
Yeah. Molly, we're due an update on your toad licking adventure.
Yeah.
Herp's weekend.
Yeah.
Were you accepted by the Herp tribe, or did they look at you with disdain because you were a bird person?
You learned the secret handshake.
You really got to keep it secret that you're a bird person in those parts. Yeah. No, it was a really fun group. So this was the West Virginia Herpetological Society Symposium. Now I can say a lot more because I did not know what I was getting into on this episode that we recorded when I was.
We were both kind of scared and thrilled for you all at once.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It was really great. It was down in the New River Gorge. So the setup, it was set at a big group campsite that was a big, like 10-acre space. If you've been to the New River Birding Festival, it's actually where folks gather every morning before they split off to all the field trips. So I realized that's where we were, and I was really excited because I actually knew my way around it. But yeah, so everybody was in a big group campsite. It was Friday of essentially field trips, and it was all one group. There were pushing 100 people there, and from what I understand, this was the fourth year of the event, and it's been much smaller in past years, and there just happened to be a lot of interest that's built. So there was a little bit of just surprise, I think, that many people had showed up, and they had capped it. But there were huge groups. I don't know if you all saw pictures of us all going through the woods at night. There was just like 100 headlamps dotting through this ridgeline. It was pretty crazy, but cool. So we did field trips on Friday. Saturday, in the symposium style, there were a lot of presentations that were informative, and they were at a great big pavilion there at the group site. We kind of broke for lunch and all sorts of different topics that were really great. I was really happy to hear all of them. And then we went out again in the afternoon and evening, and Sunday did the same and just kind of took short walks, went on places around there, and did herping. So it rained a ton, like I think pushing 2 inches of rain Friday night.
Oh man,
it was so bad. And we were on a walk that was just there from our group site. We hadn't driven anywhere for that, but I mean, just soaked to the bone. People were really testing their tents and that sort of thing. So it ended up being a really good weekend for salamanders. Not so much for snakes, but I was just able to learn a lot about, I mean, the species themselves that are around and the sort of identification things and how to find them and whatnot, and also just kind of general information about herping. And
This sounds almost like Burning Man, when it rained there and they all got stuck in the mud. You guys are like the salamander folks. It's like, oh, but you're like, all right, salamander. Like,
yeah.
look at salamanders. We're wet. Who cares?
Yeah, kind of. Also, this past weekend, I was at my first music festival, which was not Burning Man style, but it was really cool too. It was much more like country folk, that sort of thing down in the bottom of West Virginia. But that was fun, and another group camping experience that was new for me. But yeah, it was raining so hard that first night that I hadn't really talked to many people yet. It was like the first day, and like you just couldn't see anything. Jimmy and I like couldn't find each other out in the woods, so we both ended up back at the tent eventually. It was a downpour, which was pretty fun. But yeah, so other people went out, I guess, and were out later in the night. So it was also like just like birding festivals. There were a few like of the hardcore folks that wanted to go off and find their own herps and like went off on their own and that sort of thing. So it was fun to kind of see that dynamic play out and see who was chasing what. I was still kind of getting my grips on which herps were the common, which salamanders were the most common, which were the hardest to find. Cave salamanders ended up being one of the highlights that we looked for in that area, and they're great. But I will admit, a lot of the salamanders are really great to me, and some of them are just cool and pretty, even if they're common. And I, am happy with all the ones that I'm seeing. But
do they get like, are they like birders in that there's a lot of identification issues, and then they're all talking about, well, no, that's a whatever because of this, or is it different because it's more clear cut or
no, yeah, there's
there's
definitely identification issues, and it's a lot of separating by habitat, and you get down to a genus level. And I was also learning the things that stood out, like chin color and the spots on the sides, and counting different spots and stripes and that sort of thing that before, when I've looked at these and just looking in the field guide, I haven't really known how to tell the two species apart. And it's like, well, these drawings kind of look different, but I don't know if this is something that actually separates a species or not. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of that, and kind of sitting around and figuring out what species is which. And
Yeah. I found that non-bird naturalists, the field guides are so far behind the bird people, like that, and the actual experts know how to tell something apart, and it's often something really specific and like clear cut, and it's not in the book. And
yeah,
I always think that's
absolutely.
crazy, but it's almost like things haven't crystallized in the same way that birds have, so you can just go, oh yeah, you see this salamander in this kind of habitat, it's got a whatever chin, and boom, right? It's really confusing to use field guides for a lot of other stuff, even butterflies. I'm like,
Yeah.
simplify this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's blown my mind over the past few months. I've been looking into just different types of field guides more and more, and it is so hard to find them. I've been looking for a mammal guide for Colombia. George, I don't know if you have anything that you reference for this regularly. I've pulled a few different ones. I've got a few sitting behind me that I thought I was getting some interesting neotropic guides. They're like textbook size,
right? Yeah.
Like dimensions wise, they're massive, and there's a lot of sort of like encyclopedia type life history things, but just field guides are hard,
like portable guides.
I think there's just that neotropical rainforest mammals that has a
I've
lot
got
of
that
stuff and really good, but it's not very specific. You're not going to be able to find one specific mouse in that. Oh no, I was thinking the little field guide one, the little green.
Oh, okay.
Is there like a pocket?
Well,
because that thing you've got in your hand there is, you're not fitting that easily in a
no,
backpack.
I was excited about this. It is. So I'm holding up Mammals of the Neotropics, and it's a volume 1 that covers like Panama, Colombia, Venezuela. Just leaned away from the mic, so. Oh yeah, right. You've got something else.
Is that the Ammons book there, Al? Is that
Louise
Ammons?
Yeah. I don't know if it's even out still around, but it's got kind of all the monkeys and the Maine squirrels and
That's
it's
more
kind of
portable still.
it's for
It
yeah,
is.
and it doesn't give you all the mice or what have you, but I mean, let's face
Uh-huh.
it, you can't identify mice when they're in the
That's not my
backyard, let
concern
alone
as much right
Colombia.
now. Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
unless it's something really obvious, But
Yeah. I've started overlaying that with I have a couple Princeton books. I have Primates of the World, Canids of the World, a few of those, and have been looking at that too. But these field guides are tough. And
yeah,
similarly for herps of West Virginia, there's a big research group that's based out of Marshall University, and I guess that they have a field guide that they've put together that's really good and detailed, but it's not in print, and I haven't tracked
right.
one down yet. And yeah,
And having something that you could have on your phone easily would be nice for a lot of this stuff.
oh yeah,
Like
yeah,
INAT is great, but when you're trying to key some of these things out on your own, it'd sure
uh-huh.
be nice to just have a good, proper
Here's
reference.
kind of an INET hack that, for listeners, if you're going to anywhere, actually, even your own home county, if you search on iNaturalist for a group like mammals, right, and it just pops everything up, then you can actually put in a thing for your county or your country or whatever, and it pops up all of the species that have been recorded for that region, and the cool thing I found what's most useful is that this is what people see, right? So the most common one is the one that you're most likely to see in that region. Then it goes down from there. So you in a sense, like especially if you're visiting a place like Colombia and the state, the departments you're going to, you will at least know what people see the most commonly in that area, the three or four, because that's
What people
you're not going to
encounter. Yeah.
encounter.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
that I find way more useful than actually sometimes having a full run of everything that's available, because usually you see what's most likely,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does help a lot to just like click through and sort of get a subset from my naturalist. And then I will often use that to sort of prime myself. Okay, this monkey is the one that's most likely in this part of Bolivia or what have you, rather
Mm-hmm.
than learning all the monkeys. So
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I think it's useful
That's a
and
good hack. Yeah.
INET
good
has
hack.
a ton of data. I mean, it has a ton of data, but you can actually do some cool things. Did you know that you can see a life list by location and essentially a needs list, a target species by location? That's been my new.
Mm.
This is how I was kind of filling in my mammals for INAT in West Virginia. I think if you go to your profile, there's like a dynamic life list thing, and you can filter it by location, so by state or country
Ah.
or whatever, and then you can filter it by things you haven't seen, and it lists them by most common. And I did this the other day, and I was like, oh, I don't have a groundhog on my West Virginia list.
Oh, for
And
shame, Molly.
I know when I say I'm filling it in, I really am. And it's because I don't take pictures of groundhogs that much, but I just do things from my phone generally for INET because it pulls that like location data, instantly and the time and everything. So it's easier. So I've been trying to get a picture of a groundhog and an eastern chipmunk on my phone that I can put on INAT recently. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time browsing that as of late.
If you're on iNet and you're on your phone and you do that very same kind of thing with the checklist for wherever you are, and then restricted to a certain group of creatures, you should be able to get then a visible, almost checklist / field guide that you can at least flip through on your phone, George. But
Mhm.
you'd have to have a connection, right, to do
That's a
it.
good
Right.
point.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless you just do that beforehand and maybe print
Do
it
it.
out as a PDF,
Right.
like that you can
Mhm.
have on your phone.
Yeah,
But
printing it's not very mobile friendly,
yeah,
I find.
that's the
But
thing.
yeah. But you can also say pull up a species, like pull up a fisher, and then it will show the whole taxonomic breakdown. So you could just filter it by mustelids and then look at
Right.
mustelids in the United States or whatever and look at that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. It's kind of interesting that way. Like if you start filtering,
mhm.
you get all sorts of interesting information, and sometimes not what you expect. Like the most commonly, especially like marine mammals. Some marine mammals are more visible than others, even though you know that they're less common. than a certain other species, yet people see them or photograph them more often than something else that's more common. But still, it's interesting. You learn a lot filtering.
Yeah, totally.
Well,
going back to herping and everything too, and INAT too, I know I'm looking at this through the lens of like a birder who's been trained on eBird for several years. So I try to step back and take a fresh look at it every once in a while. But I've been trying to figure out how I want to record some of the herps that I'm seeing, because there's a lot of sensitivity in sharing those locations.
That was gonna be one of my next questions. Actually, was like, I was very curious to hear about this aspect, and I don't know if there were speakers or anything at the, or if it was just purely field oriented event, but I was thinking this must have come up where you guys, because some of these things you post a location, you can expect some potentially nefarious activity right wherever that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Salamanders are collected for fishing a lot. Snakes are collected for all sorts of things. And in West Virginia in particular, there's not much state legislation that has limits on what you can collect. So I guess for years it's been well known for people who are in the pet trade and that sort of thing that you can come to West Virginia and take these species and not have legal ramifications for it. So that's actually a really cool thing that the Herp Society here in the state is doing as they're building up their members, is that they're, one, building up awareness on this, and two, actually influencing some policy change. And over the past few years, there have been some species that are getting added to the list. It's kind of like DNR regulations on game birds, like if there's not a limit that's listed for something, you can take whatever you want, and that ends up how a lot of funky things get shot and that sort of thing. But yeah, you can put a lot of damage onto a reptile or amphibian population very quickly by taking a few individuals. So I have been trying to learn as much as I can about that and understand the sensitivity of it too. Certainly not the kind of thing where you share locations like you do for birds.
Right.
People are really, really particular about sharing information about some of these things. And there are lots of very localized species, and they're continuing to separate species a lot right now. And there's a lot of, isolation where they're in one cave or a couple mountains and that sort of thing. So people who are interested in it are really keen on it. But yeah, lots to learn there, and I'm trying to observe as much as I can to handle that the right way.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I always think like not so far outside of Philly here. Like, you can drive an hour and be in an area that has timber rattlesnakes. But like Philadelphia.
Once again, timber rattlesnakes. Once again, like, what is it?
Yeah, but I really like timber rattlesnakes, and I think timber rattlesnakes are the best. But but I just think like when I've told people in Philly that I had, gone to go look for these things, it like just made their brain explode. They were like, "What? There's no rattlesnakes around here," or like, "What? There's rattlesnakes around here?" And like you can just see the sort of wave of fear washing over them, like. And I'm like, you really, really don't have to worry about this, but an incensed public can do all sorts of damage. So I've thought about that in reference to those animals. But there's also, especially with frogs and salamanders and things like bog turtles, and you can just imagine some really sensitive stuff that needs to not be shared.
Yeah, totally.
One of the things here that and I think a lot of places we travel that you notice is how many really invasive herps have been introduced to places. Like here we have bullfrogs that have been introduced. They've been introduced to South America. Obviously, cane toads in other places. Red-eared sliders.
That's
everywhere.
The big one here. Red-eared sliders are just
all over the place.
Yeah.
And I've seen them in South America where they shouldn't be. You see them here all the time. And soft-shell turtles I found here.
Same thing here.
Asian soft shells and all this. And you're thinking, boy, like what is it? Why introduce these crazy creatures? Bullfrogs are worst,
Yeah.
Like where they're supposed to be, they're great, but where they're not supposed to be, they eat everything.
Yeah.
Everything that can fit in their mouth, But,
I saw one. There's video of one taking I think it was a red-necked phalarope up at Garrett Mountain in North Jersey. It's either a red or a red-necked phalarope. It's like all these people going there to like twitch this bird at a good inland site, and all of a sudden it's like whoop, this bullfrog swallowed it up.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So what is it with your state and the birds getting eaten by herps? Like, I mean, legs being chomped off and phalaropes being swallowed. It's crazy.
I don't know if you heard that the flamingo that got pinched in the back of the leg ended up passing. The one in Pennsylvania. The other one took off and has since disappeared. And then now Kansas and Wisconsin have since gained flamingos new state records. So go figure. That whole story just gets stranger by the minute.
And Molly, I assume being new at this group, you weren't let into the toad licking situation.
I think it was raining. It was confusing. I don't know where everyone was. I went to bed.
That's right.
Maybe next year.
Good. We were worried about you getting hooked on toads.
I got some, before we leave this topic, I got something I want to share with you, okay?
What? Oh. What's he doing? He is undressing. He's taking off a filthy looking Philadelphia Eagles thing. Oh, I think he's got the axolotl questions t-shirt.
Man, that happened fast.
Can you see that?
With the axolotl.
Yes.
Axolotl questions.
See,
I thought that joke fell flat.
That's hilarious.
I thought that joke fell flat. Now here we are. You're bringing it
That's
to life.
really funny.
I had to get it.
Wow. George, you're a real podcast fan.
I had to get it. So I was like, I showed it to Kristen.
Tell people the axolotl, right, is this crazy, what is it, neotenic? Is that the word for a salamander that never grows up and loses its...
that's an adjective that can be used more widely, but yeah.
Right, and so... And it's this funny looking thing. It looks kind of cute with this like almost feathery gills that stick out. And
it's the one we were saying. It's kind of like a cartoon character almost. It's so weird. Yeah.
But it's only found in 2 lakes in the outskirts of Mexico City.
Wow.
So it's a
Nahuatl word, I guess.
Xochimilco. Yeah. And the word is an indigenous word, and I think means like little water dog.
I like that.
There's a god of something or other that they had who was also axolotl, who's so it's a cool little creature, conservation concern, and they do ask a lot of questions.
Very inquisitive little water dogs.
Yeah, they come out up top, and instead of trying to sell you insurance like the British salamanders, they ask questions.
Yeah.
Not salamanders, they're geckos that sells you insurance, right?
Well, someday we will have to make a pilgrimage to go for the axolotl. I think that'd actually be a really fun thing to do.
Another question though, Molly. Hellbender.
Yeah, what happened? Any love from the Hellbender?
No love from the Hellbenders. Oh. No, like I said, the rain and the water levels just were not conducive, because we would have actually been looking at them from shore or near shore and looking for them visually, just finding them in the water. So not this time. I'll report back.
Got to keep something for the future.
That's right.
Did you guys see any snakes at all? Was the weather just not? Yeah. Did you get queen snakes up there?
So queen snakes are throughout the area. They've got a really interesting, like extremely isolated pockets of range, and that's, I think, sort of the southern end of it. We didn't have one for the weekend. There's actually a talk on queen snakes, so I learned a lot about them. But from what I understand is where they're common, they're really common. But that's a lot of isolation in different areas throughout the state. So not there. Lots of other riparian areas across the range that have them. And I really want to go track a few down now because they seem super cool. There's a group up in the northern panhandle. West Liberty University is studying them. And so they've done all sorts of different trackers and different things that they've been doing just to monitor and learn more about the species.
They reach Ontario, believe it or not, and like a very, very small population. And I remember that they were restricted to mainly one river, and there was a lot of talk about limestone being important. I don't know if that's everywhere else in the range, but like limestone-based river edge.
That seems to be the case here. Not necessarily river, but because they're around some smaller streams as well. This is kind of talking anecdotally, but yeah, a lot of limestone, rocky croppings. They have really, really small ranges.
Wow.
So they're staying in a very tiny area. Cool snakes.
Yeah, they do look cool. I kind of was I haven't seen one, but I've been I was in the car, I think with those like Marshall Iliff and a couple other friends. We were in Western Maryland birding, and I heard somebody yell out queen snake, and I was like, whoa. And I like looked, and it was like kind of gone, but I like saw it barely. So I've got to catch up on that one. But you know what I got, you know what I saw yesterday, which is like fairly common around here, but I can't remember the last time I actually saw it was North America's only poisonous frog.
Poison, like venomous? Like it can bite you, or that you eat it and
it secretes a secretion.
Okay. So it's like skin, like
yes.
toxic, kind of like.
Yeah. It secretes a toxin. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
I know this.
Yeah, it emits a skin secretion, which is irritating to people and toxic to some predators, making it the only poisonous frog native to the United States. Due to its poison, most mammals, birds, snakes, and other frogs will leave it alone. The skin secretions of a stressed individual are known to be toxic to other frogs, as many a novice frog catcher has found when he finds that only the pickerel frog still alive in his bucket. So yeah, yesterday, I think due to these, the leftovers of this storm, I guess these things must have gotten pushed out of their caves or something, because we had a lot of rain for 4 or 5 days in a row. And I was just doing a little hike yesterday, and I saw like 5 of them all along this trail that I go along all the time, and I like never see them. So that was pretty cool. See these pickerel frogs.
Really cool.
And pickerel frogs, if the idea is like their spots are more square and there's some yellowish on the legs or something like that compared to leopard frogs.
Yeah,
I remember they were kind of hard to identify them.
Yeah, they have kind of these if you look at them from above, they have these kind of squarish dots that run down the back in almost stripes. And then they have these like kind of ridges that run just outside of those, that row of square spots. And then, the underside of the hind leg, I believe it is yellow. I was not really able to see that. And I gather you have to pick them up and turn them over. Which I might have considered doing, except I was with my dog, who is not only bad at spotting skunks, but is really, really bad at spotting toads and frogs, and I'm quite thankful for that. But I was like, I'm not going to mess with this at the moment. But yeah, I didn't actually even realize that they were poisonous at that point, or I might have actually tried to catch them.
You know what's weird? It's that they actually have that secretion, and they don't have a bright color to tell you, like, don't eat me.
Right.
Like, usually creatures, I mean, if you think of like the salamander world too, like the red Fs and so on, they're actually,
it's got the alarm color.
Yeah. A lot of orange going on. It's like, don't eat me because, I've got some secretions going on. But,
You got some secretions going on. Yeah.
That's right.
That could be another good T-shirt potentially.
T-shirt?
Yeah. Pickerel frog says, I got some secretions going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, so, okay. Next year, you're going to bring photographs back of hellbenders, Molly. So you're going to go back, you think?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll go back to that. I'll go back herping too, separately. Nice. I went out after this, and I've targeted a few things as I've been around the past couple weeks. And it is so exciting to me to go look for a particular salamander in a particular spot and find it, like a successful chase. This is a new territory for me outside of birds, so it's been pretty fun.
Oh, that's cool. No, interesting. Because, yeah, I mean, I often think about that here. There's some herps in this county that I would, like mountain king snakes that are around, but like, there's just a few records on iNaturalist. I'm like, I would love to see it. Even the California king snake, I've only seen it once, and it's beautiful, like this black and white ringed thing. And it's like, I should go look for that. It would be more exciting than, some of the other, not more exciting than the birding, but the birding is like, I know what to expect, and there's the surprises are often vagrants. But with herps, I could go and look for regular stuff that would be surprising.
It's expected to be there, but yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see a scarlet king snake at some point. That would be one I'd really love to see.
So have you all been like paying attention to the UK and Iceland and all that, all the stuff that what they call the Yank invasion?
Yes, the Yanks are invading. And frankly, it's high time. Like they they first wouldn't let us get away from them. I think it's time we started invading over there. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, and then the British invasion with the Beatles and all that.
Oh yeah,
now
man,
getting them back.
It's high time. Yeah.
So, I'm not sure which system. Like you guys would know better, right? What was hitting? If it was that hurricane that went through up in Newfoundland and up through there, because this was like, I think it started about 10 days ago when they started seeing these birds. Basically, I think we're going downwind from one of the big storms and just got shot out towards the UK and included like tons of cliff swallows, like lots of them in Iceland, like multiples.
Must have been Hurricane Lee, I would figure.
Lee,
was the one that kind of shot up and eventually landed in Atlantic Canada someplace. I think it was kind of like near Yarmouth, roughly. So I would imagine that they would have gotten slingshotted around the other side of that.
That's what, So that was the storm. Cliff swallows, like multiples in Ireland. They had, black Pernian warbler, magnolia warbler, yellow warbler, bobolink, alder flycatcher, multiple black and white warblers, bay-breasted warbler, Tennessee's, Baltimore Orioles. It's just insane,
like unprecedented numbers, right? It's like
and first, right? Canada warbler was Britain's first, and I think it was Philly vireos, red eye vireos. They were, there was one that was a second record, and then they went to look for it, and then they found this Canada warbler like the same day or something crazy, like in the same spot. And I don't know if it was the Blackburnian that was the second record. I don't know the status of these birds over there enough, but crazy. One weather system. This case, the storm really did do it. But again, it's not like they're entrapped in the storm. They're actually riding winds downwind when they got caught up in their natural migration, rode downwind when they started getting winds that were not amenable to going south. And you can get, like you said, slingshot around, but crazy. And one of the cool things, there's a picture of the Baltimore Oriole, which is I think it's a young male, but it's one of those super bright orange ones that's been eating the berries. You know what I mean? What's the berry that's like an
honeysuckle
or Asian honeysuckle or something?
Could be Amer honeysuckle or multiflora rose.
Because they get super orange, right? Unnaturally orange from that plant, the introduced plant. So it's one of those. It's like one of these crazy orange ones where it's like, okay, that's beyond normal, but weird. And I think that this is just a snapshot of what was going over the ocean at that point in time, and not necessarily all related to boom of birds due to the budworm, but somewhat related, I guess, in some sense, at least with Tennessee warblers.
That the numbers were up, and there's probably more of them to vagrate.
Yeah. And here we've had like lots of Tennessee warblers, more American redstarts than the norm so far, and a push of like a totally different push of lark buntings and painted buntings coming out sort of from that, likely from Arizona, so different. I don't know why or what's going on there, but I found a lark bunting on my dog walk, and it was like my first ever within this 5-mile radius. So that was cool. Lots going on out here, vagrancy wise. Every day there's something new somebody's seeing. Craziness, pure, unadulterated craziness.
Interesting on painted buntings. When I was in Mexico in August, that was like the expected bird that happened in really, really high numbers. We just had dozens of them. They were all over the place. It was just the common thing to see. And looking from past years, that didn't seem to be the case. So I don't know if that was just increase in numbers in the area, or if they were there in that year in particular. But that one really stood out then too.
Yeah.
It's a nice bird to have an influx of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a lot of like female type and juvenile ones too. But no, it was great. It's not a bird. That was like my childhood dream bird to see. So yeah, I'm always happy to see them.
Yeah. Still remember my first vividly. Corkscrew Swamp, Florida.
All the ones here have been green ones, not the colorful ones.
Yeah.
That used to be a species, like, when I moved out to California, that was on the review list, and now it no longer is. There's enough records.
I remember seeing it in Arizona when it was still like deemed like kind of uber rare. And now I think it is considerably less so.
You don't have that on your Philly list, do you, George?
I do not. There was one this year that was seen by quite a few people. I was in Columbia for most of that. So I fantasize about finding one in my yard. I think our neighborhood here would be a reasonable place to have one turn up.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Seems like I've seen one at a feeder in winter in West Virginia, and they seem to be creeping up that way more and more, and kind of getting some winter numbers.
Yeah, that was a bird that was really rare in like Virginia when I was a kid. Like I remember finding one, and thinking it was a really great bird, and then like since then they've just like they're not really that noteworthy anymore in Virginia and in Maryland. It's kind of the same thing. Like they're noteworthy, but they're not like crazy like they used to be. And they're annual in Delaware. I think they probably have reached annual status in Pennsylvania, if not very close. So yeah, they've just kind of, I don't know if it's climate change or what, but they have really kind of been marching north, literally, and in terms of the number of records as well. More and more of them.
Don't mean to boast, but I've had one in my backyard.
Yeah.
Nice vagrant. No photo though, so some of the locals, I think they trust me, but they give me a weird look.
Yeah. Well, you're probably accustomed to that anyway.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Well, in the course of discussing shit that birders see, we haven't really gotten around to one of the topics that we wanted to discuss today, which is one of our favorite Facebook groups that goes by the name of Shit Birders See. Or I guess it's SH asterisk. Sorry?
Yeah. That aren't birds or something like that, right? Isn't that the
other than birds.
Like, other than birds.
Yeah, I think that's in like parentheses though, right? It's like that's what it is. Shit Birders See, then in parentheses other than birds. And which I feel like is kind of what we do a lot of here, is discuss that kind of stuff. But it's interesting to look at. It's an interesting and fun group. it's interesting to sort of see. We were kind of reviewing the images, right? And it's like there's definitely some categories that you see a lot of.
Creepy dolls.
I was gonna say creepy dolls is really high.
Creepy dolls.
Yeah, creepy dolls, like weird figurines in weird places, like Santeria kind of voodoo stuff. You see some of that. There's a lot of rattlesnake stuff, like just like Danger Noodle references and stuff. And then there's like naked people. There's definitely some naked people stuff going on. And then occasionally you get some sex, like, some like actual sex, which, can be.
I've seen that while birding.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Or you come across people that are like trying to relieve themselves. And you're like, you don't see this on this Facebook group, but these are like things that happen.
There has to be a line.
Yeah. At some point, your documentation has to end. Yeah.
I mean, that's enough, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We all have limits. Yeah. But yeah, man, it is this birding lifestyle, which we were discussing earlier, is so rewarding in so many ways. And you get to see so much amazing, beautiful, beautiful stuff. But then every now and then you end up seeing stuff you really don't want to see at all.
Yeah, I did post there after Japan this picture of this man taking like really high-end photos. He had all this set up on the beach of this doll.
Oh, that wasn't at Half Moon Bay. That was I assumed. No, okay, I saw this.
That
image.
Was in Japan.
Okay,
and while I was birding, and he had this doll, kind of a Barbie dollish kind of thing, and had it set up, in the sand and the whole deal. And I posted something like, I don't want to be sort of the guy who comes in from another country and and different culture, but I said in all 3 countries I've lived, this is weird, so that's what I put it out as. And it's interesting. I got backlash from the doll people. Like, there's a whole.
You gotta watch out for them now. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole set of people who do like photography of dolls or horses.
The horse people are terrifying. That's one of the scarier blocks. The horse people.
And then I had misidentified the doll. Right, it was a ball. I remember it was called a ball joint doll, and there's a whole subset of people that photograph them doing things and stuff.
Did you misidentify the doll in the process?
I misidentified the doll, but
that's unforgivable.
See, I got to tell you, the part that. I mean, in the photo, you can't quite tell. The part that I thought was creepy wasn't that this guy was taking photographs of the doll, but that the doll had really, really huge boobs. And that creeped me out because it's not just the doll. Yeah. Suddenly it's become this sexualized thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like,
Yeah. I don't want to yuck I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, but. Yeah.
But I had a whole some people like, yeah, you're right, that's insane. And other people are like, whoa, hold on, this is somebody just having a good time. Leave him alone, he's not hurting anyone. And other people are like, hey, I like dolls too, so it went all over the place. And I thought it was great. I thought it was great that I got to learn about all of these subcultures that, like you say, don't yuck anybody's yum, that are out there. I just thought this was kind of weird just because of that specific doll. If it had been a normally shaped doll, maybe I would have said, oh, that's interesting art. But as such, it wasn't. It seemed kind of creepy to me.
It is
I
interesting.
didn't read the comments on this.
You say you did?
I didn't. But so are there that many birders that are also into dolls, so to speak? Or is there like infiltration from the doll enthusiasts who get on the Shipbirder Sea because they don't like their dolls being posted about in birding areas?
Oh God, that's a good question. I mean, there were a lot of comments. Like I think I was surprised, and then I felt a little bit like ashamed that I'd at all had this idea that this was kind of
unusual or odd,
weird, right? But let's face it, you also can only give your comments from your own perspective, right, of what you've lived. And I had never seen this, right? So if you've never seen something, you automatically think it's weird. although some other people are kind of interested in various things, like, I'm not somebody who goes to, like, the Comic-Con kind of thing. So, if I went there, I'd be like, this is crazy, right? But it isn't, of course. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of people do it, and it's fun. But it's just, if I haven't lived the experience, right, you just kind of come from your perspective. So I thought it was cool to see that I think there is a crossover of some bird people, doll people, and photography of, unusual kind of things that are, staged. So, I thought it was interesting. So.
Yeah. I mean, context is everything, right? It's like, the context often is what sets these things up. And it's like, that's what makes the creepy dolls, right? Is like, if you're in the middle of a woods someplace where you think nobody comes back here, and all of a sudden you find like a doll head on a spike or something, you'd be like, oh, this is pretty weird. Of course, that'd be pretty weird anywhere, honestly. But but it is funny. Like, some of the stuff on this group, somebody posted a photo of a cannabis dispensary that's called the Piping Plover. I thought that was pretty cool. I definitely might patronize that spot. Somebody else posted, like, clearly it's like a plastic wrapped sex toy. Appears to be that appears to be what that is. And it's clearly been neglected. It's been in the woods for a very, very long time, lying in the leaf litter. It's not even out of its package. So you'll make of that what you will. There was a sign somebody posted that said "Bigfoot area, stay on marked trails." So that, that's
good advice.
Yeah, that was really handy. There's another one somebody posted of a nudist dude walking on a beach behind, like, the observer is like scoping a bunch of, like, Laughing Gulls royal terns. It looks like, I think they're royal terns. And then there's just like a naked dude walking around behind them. And then this one was, I thought, interesting. There's a sign that says, "Attention, please stay off the wall. Wall contains cremated remains." Hard to figure out.
That's good advice too.
Yeah.
That is good advice.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I mean, because you would never know that a wall had cremated remains. So
you wouldn't suspect
putting
that.
up a sign is actually useful. I do.
Another one I
don't know
liked
what's so weird about that.
Yeah. The whole thing's weird. But the one of the other ones I like, you've seen the movie A Christmas Story. It's kind of classic. That's, always around on Christmas time. And there's the leg lamp, which is like, so tacky. It's like a woman's leg wearing like a fishnet stocking with a lampshade on it. And the father in the movie, like, loves this thing like it's the nicest thing in the world. And at any rate,
I have not seen this movie.
Oh, really? It's kind of a classic film. But somebody else found that lampshade, like, on a beach, or found that lamp on a beach and photographed it, which I got a kick out of. Mostly
Christmas Island. No, that would
that would be something else if that's where it was. It did remind me of the whole thing reminded me of my excursion to Stewart Island. Which is at the south end. It's off the south end of the South Island of New Zealand. It takes some doing to get there. If you're going to go, first of all, you got to get all the way to the south end of the South Island of New Zealand, which is, that's a bit of an undertaking. And then once you get there, you got to get on a ferry, which I want to say it's like an hour and a half ferry or something like that. I can't remember. Out to Stewart Island, which is a pretty remote spot. Very good place to see kiwis, by the way. And the only place I've really seen them well. And I just remember, like, the first time I went there, I was like, this is going to be cool, Stewart Island. We'll see some albatrosses along the way, we'll get over there. Maybe we'll see kiwi. It's real small. I forget how many people live there. It can't be more than 1,000 or a couple thousand or something. And it's, a lot of it's covered in native habitat. There's obviously some development. So, some people there, but you get off the dock there from the ferry, and I'm with my group, And it's actually, I don't know if it's still like this, but it used to be a really long walk. It felt like it was like 2 football fields, like from where you get off the boat to where you got to walk with all your gear and luggage and everything to where you get picked up by the car. And I'm worried about my group. So I'm like, I better, I was like, guys, I'll meet you at the end of this dock. I'm going to go see if I can get her, find our vehicles, make sure we're good to go. And I get to the end of the dock and there's not a soul in sight. Like I can see a few buildings off and there's a road. And all of a sudden, just as I kind of have been standing there for a few minutes seeing nobody, I see 6 guys go by on those penny farthing bicycles? Like, like the really
big wheel
big
and a little wheel?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Really
Oh,
big wheel,
yeah.
really little wheel in the back. And they're dressed like from, I don't know, like colonial, early
Top
1900s.
hats and the funny mustaches.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're and they just go wheeling by and they don't even look at me, And I'm like,
no, why would you?
and I'm just like, I was like, wow, like, is this how they dress out here? Is this like, like what's happening here? And I'm just sitting there like,
not in the guidebook.
Yeah, I was like, nobody told me about this at all, And so I'm just sitting there kind of processing that. And then coming down the hill, same direction as the bicycles comes this like old beat up jalopy, like a rusted out little, sedan vehicle that looks like it's been on this island for a long time and probably seen a lot of salt water washing over it and all rusted and it's going like 5 miles an hour, like painfully slow. And I'm like, wow, what is this now? And slowly, the thing eventually rolls up next to me and stops. And the driver leans out and using some very choice language, just leans over to me and he goes, he's clearly deeply inebriated. It's like, I want to say it's like 11 in the morning or something. And this guy has been drinking for a long time. It's very clear. And he was like, what are you looking at? You effing, and then he used a slur that I won't repeat here. And then he like kind of, looked at me, spat out his window, went back in his seat and continued to drive along. And I'm like, this has got to be the strangest place I have ever been. Like, what the deuce is happening here? And then actually after that, everything was pretty, a few minutes after that, like a couple vans rolled up and we like piled in. But I was like, and like everyone I saw after that, I was giving like extra scrutiny to, because I'm like, this place is,
so
different.
Are you sure this was real?
I know. I kind of wanted to be like, I was looking around like, is anybody else seeing this? Like,
Yeah, because I'm starting to think like, could you, how where dreams and real life kind of come together and you're like, okay, I don't know. Did that happen? I was really tired. I don't know.
It was bizarre.
Sounds weird.
It was
totally. That sounds like a shit show.
It was some shit birders see when, that we're not birds. That's for sure.
Yeah. I have one of those that I often think back and wonder what was going on or if it was real. I didn't think that I had a lot to say on this topic, but I've been jotting. I actually have a ton of things I can say on this. It's all coming back to me as we're talking about it. But 4 or 5 years ago, there was one morning that I was at just one of the local parks around here, and I was out probably a little before sunrise. I think it was like a spring migration type. It was probably mid-May, and it was really foggy. It's along a river, and there was a rail trail. And I was kind of walking these little paths that just go in and out around the park. And out of the woods, off of what was not one of the main paths, came about a dozen men in black cloaks, hoods up, like belts wrapped around, and they all just silently walked out and walked by.
Oh my God.
And it was the weirdest thing. It was right around sunrise, tons of fog, and I was the only, like, it's one of the places where I'm like normally the only car in the parking lot, and I was this time too. And they just went by. And
did not acknowledge you at all?
No, I was kind of like, they didn't walk, right by my face. I was kind of down the rail trail on another path that went through.
That sounds like a scary bunch.
It was weird. And I never knew what to think of it, and
Do you
I have
think?
no idea.
Do you think it was like more like druidy or clansy? Like what you know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's two
There's like some
like
spirituals or
yeah, it was
no?
like or not so
I
spiritual.
would say more of the former, I think.
Oh.
I don't know. It was
Yeah.
Tough to explain.
it wasn't like it wasn't. Now I'm trying to think back and hope I'm not
Yeah,
clouding
there's
my
a
memories at all. I don't think they were, walking in step and, and that sort of thing, but they were in a line, and there were a lot, and they looked like I said, adult men. No idea.
yeah, that's weird. There's an
Yeah.
episode. I don't know if you guys watch Reservation Dogs, which is the best TV show on earth.
I have heard about
No,
this.
but
I've
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
But there's one where there's all these weirdo guys doing stuff with cloaks, and I'll just leave it at that. Just reminded me, it's like almost like you could have been in that episode.
like an eyes wide shut kind of. Yeah.
There's some group that gets together down at New River, out on one of the rivers in central West Virginia around Halloween each year. I should look into this. And they do like a witches style paddleboarding.
I've run into the
stand-up
Wiccans. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This is like, I think it's just a bunch of people who want to like wear their Halloween costumes and go on a paddle. I think it's actually really cool. I would do it. This was not that. This was a little weirder.
Do you guys remember at the American Birding Expo in Philly one year that right next to the American Birding Expo there was another convention area?
Oh yeah,
and it was it was a Walking Dead convention, and so all these people, so like the whole parking lot was people like in binoculars and like birding gear, and then like people dressed as zombies, and it was like made some good photo ops.
What is crazy is that probably all the zombie people were walking around, with the fake blood and everything, going like, "Look at those freaking weirdos over there," with the tilly hats and the
yeah, totally.
Meanwhile, the birders are like, "Oh, the birders probably wouldn't even notice."
Yeah, exactly.
Many of them are just like, if it's not a bird,
yeah, it's like that's just another humanoid over there. Yeah,
right. There's people with fake blood on their face everywhere. Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah. I was working at Birdwatchers Digest at the time, and we reserved that. It's a huge convention area, and they've got, like the big areas where you can take a section off of them. So we had a section off. And if I'm remembering correctly, we had booked it first and kind of joked about, wonder what the rest of it's going to get taken up for. And it was a Walking Dead convention.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder how many went to both.
I bet that was a limited overlap there. Yeah.
Yeah. Never know.
Yeah. Haven't watched Walking Dead.
Yeah. I have seen, I remember this one specific place that was, it was in Uruguay. And it was a flat kind of stone slab, we were under shrubs, and you kind of had to, we went through this little trail and we're looking for birds. And then the flat slab place that you went to suddenly was all full of just wax, like candle wax all over it, and weird things, and in circles, and chicken feathers everywhere.
Oh boy.
And I joked, I was like, "Oh, this looks like some kind of voodoo kind of stuff." And our guide is like, "That's exactly what it is." It's like,
exactly correct. What it is, You identified that correctly.
Correct. You identified, and I thought it was a joke. I mean, I actually didn't even go there, but there's a lot of, in Argentina and Uruguay, there's a lot of sort of religion that is non-Catholic, yet it's not. I'm not sure where it comes from, because you don't see that very much at all in Latin America, other than in the Caribbean.
I was going to say the West Indies, yeah.
Yeah, and it's somewhere somehow came down through Brazil, and sort of the remnants, the Afro-American sort of remnants of the old slave trade that did get down to Uruguay, roughly. But it was weird, because for a Chilean, this was. You never see that. Like, it just does not happen over there, or in Peru or in Ecuador. It's like, so I thought it was weirdly foreign in so many ways, yet there's a lot of sort of parallel religions going on in Latin America that I didn't even know about, or saints that aren't really saints, but everybody treats them as saints and so forth. There's all that. Some of those you see on the roadside. I don't know if you've
Gauchito Hill
yeah,
over Argentina.
Gauchito Hill and Difunta Correa, the one with all the water bottles.
That's right.
Where,
Mhm.
I forgot.
the lady that essentially she died looking for her husband as she was crossing the Chaco back in the 1800s, but her baby miraculously survived, and so now when you're doing a big long trip, you leave water for her, in a sense, to give you safety on your trip, right? And Gauchito Hill was sort of like Robin Hood kind of character, and he's also another.
They always have red flagging, red
Yeah.
stuff all over the place for him.
Yeah, and it's deep, like carmine red. It has to be like the deepest red, and you see all these flags, and when you're traveling, everybody's like, "What are the little red flags and the little house and the whole thing?" And you stop at it, and people are like, "Whoa, this is intense," right? Because it's usually a little
shrine
shrine thing and stuff, and there's and the water bottle ones. It's just sometimes like just like 1,000 water bottles sitting in a big pile, and people are like, "What's going on here?" And you explain it, and they're like, "Oh,
they're like, okay, that's all right."
So are they Christian or?" It's like, well, yeah, actually they're Catholic, but these aren't saints that the Catholic Church is okay with. They're like parallel saints and stuff. See all that when you're birding.
Yeah. It's pretty fascinating, I think, to see those sort of early stages of Christianity mixing in with local lore, and it's fascinating. But I too have seen a ritualized chicken, and that was very surprising. Something more recently that I saw, I was in Dolly Sods, have been helping at a banding station that's there, and that's in sort of central West Virginia up in the mountains, and it's an absolutely beautiful area. And I had a trail camera I wanted to put up to look for different mammals. So my thoughts on putting that would be to get off of one of the main trails and find some sort of side chute and put it somewhere where ideally a lot of people wouldn't be going through, but that would be a little animal path or that sort of thing. But Dolly Sods has been publicly owned land for a long time, and in World War II was used as army training. And for that reason, there are still assumed to be lots and lots of explosives that could go off anywhere.
The old unexploded ordnance.
Yes, the ones. Yeah. So there are lots of signs up for that. And I thought about it for a day or so and thought either I do a good job of getting away from where people go and increase my chances of finding something like that, which of course are really rare. But I thought about it enough that I talked myself out of it and didn't put it off of any trails there.
Man, I feel like this is a topic we will need to revisit, because as we're talking, I'm like you say, Molly, I've a couple other fun stories have come back, but we need to scoot here pretty soon. I did want to remind folks that our sponsor, Co-Sporting Optics, does have a new product out that I'm very excited to try, and that is that 66 millimeter telescope. If you're looking for an affordable and very travel-friendly scope, it's a good way to go.
Yesterday, I used it for the first time.
Oh, yeah?
Fantastic.
Nice.
And it's so light. My life has changed.
Yeah.
Because, and I don't feel like we can do a bigger review on it another time. But
that would be fun. That'd be fun. I'm hoping to get my hands on one soon. So, that'd be good. And, Al, have you got anything coming up you want folks to know about?
Well, I think people should go to either one of our websites, George, or my website, to look at our Alaska trip, because it's filling up fast.
Yeah.
and
I'll
we
say
still
by the
have
time
a
this
few
airs,
spots left.
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But that's happening in next June, and we have some other trips. Cuba in December. It would be great if we get enough people. Molly goes, right? So that would be good.
That's right.
Yeah, and then so look at alvarosadventures.com for that.
Nice. How about you, Molly?
Yeah, guiding wise, yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Alvaro. Speaking of a place that has a really fascinating blend of local customs with Christianity and all sorts of other things, Cuba's quite a place.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we still got spots left on the tour that I'm doing with you, George, for Hillstar next February. That's the High Times in Colombia, which we did last year as part of the Lifeless tour. And George, you do it regularly. It's a great place. Can't wait to get back there. Otherwise, I don't talk about my Nighthawk work much. That's my work side of things. It's a little marketing agency that I have, and I work mostly with birding, conservation, ecotourism based companies. I'm pretty bogged down with that. I've been deep in website work, which I really like doing. So that's kind of where I am on that sort of thing. And the co-op, you can check out the website there and see what we've got going on. And yeah, that's my update.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm also excited about a trip I got coming up in February to India, to Western India, to the Gujarat, which is mostly really flat country, some wetlands, the vast Thar Desert is there. It's really good for a host of different mammals and birds. It's really kind of a safari type of trip where we'll be going for mammals and birds. There's a place there that gets roosts of harriers that sometimes numbers in the hundreds, which I really am hoping we strike gold with that. There's a lot to see. There's some native tribes that we're hoping to visit with there. We have chances for mammals like Asiatic lion, Indian onager, striped hyena, black buck, and we're staying at really nice places that have great food. So still space on that one. Check out Jewels of the Gujarat, a safari in Western India.
One of the dishes I make is Gujarati style green beans.
Seriously?
That goes along with some spicy Indian food that I don't talk much about my cooking, but
it's true. We might
one day we'll have to get together, all three of us, and have just several meals.
Yeah, maybe we could try to do a little cooking while we record here. I could do some toast, or maybe
tomato pie, perhaps.
I was going to say maybe I could order some tomato pie and Hawaiian pizza.
So what you're trying to say is you're not a cooking maestro?
I'm underselling myself. I'm not that bad. I just don't do it that often. And like Kristen really loves to cook, so I mostly try to help her or stay out of her way, depending on where we are. But yeah, I don't cook a whole lot. But when I do, I usually hold up my end decently. So anyway, we can discuss this further at a future juncture. Thanks everybody for listening. And thank you guys, Al and Molly. Great chatting as always. Everybody be good. Take care.
Bye.
See ya.